What's going on, everybody? Unexpected episode of the Lazy Booking Podcast today. Big news breaking today about maybe the biggest legend of all of them leaving us. So we're going to talk about that and a lot more on the other side.
Everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
Who's that kid? Nick. He looks like Beaker from Muppets.
The one on FS1, Nick Wright.
Yep. Yeah. I got something.
That's
for
amazing.
I
love that.
If I get 5 women and they're all in the same room with me, we're going at it at 110%.
All right. Again, welcome in, everybody. Special edition of Lazy Booking. One we really didn't want to have to do, but here we are. Big news breaks today. Let's show a little love to the sponsor. I want to show them their love first so we could just dive right in, and that's Specialized Physical Therapy. Find them at their physical locations, Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Make our doctor, Dr. Paul Vidal, and his award-winning team yours. All right, guys. News broke today. We've heard a lot of weird rumblings over the last couple of days. And by the way, Chrome, sorry guys, I'm flustered by the news from today. We have Brad Ryer joining us. Brad, great to do. You're your first Lazy Booking episode, right?
Yeah.
Wow, welcome on.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan is, he's the guy. So
it is. This is, if it was Ruth or Jordan or somebody along those lines, this is a wrestling industry. But yeah, we have Brad joining us as well as Eric Archer coming back in, one of our contributing, rotating co-hosts. So we appreciate you guys coming on unexpectedly today to talk about the immortal Hulk Hogan, who news broke today that he had passed away at the age of 71 in Clearwater Beach, Florida, where he lives. And not a whole lot of details have been put out there. It sounds like there's been some, Bubba the Love Sponge has been putting all this different stuff out there. And his team has kind of been denying it, but we haven't seen him out there. And I know, like me and Eric, we talk a lot. And I said to you guys literally yesterday, right, Eric? I said, it is weird to me with how much the Hulkster loves to put himself out on social media and everything else, that somebody who he really, for all intents and purposes, had a falling out with and despises, is putting this stuff out there and nobody's really denying it. And then you had Jimmy Hart make a statement yesterday, but it was very interestingly worded, where he said he made it seem as if Hogan was at karaoke with his son Nick, when he simply said, "Oh, we had a great time at karaoke with Nick." So anyway, and guys, comments, questions, anything. I know we have a criteria, but I'm going to be honest, however this show goes is how it goes, because I feel like that's the flow, other than when we get to the opening topic. Before I get to the opening topic, I would like to get initial reactions to this news today. Brad, let's start with you.
I was just stunned and upset. Listen, he's part of my generation. I remember when he came up with Fred Blassie wearing that silly top hat and the cape and the motorcycle and the whole bit. It was pretty funny. And his biggest rival back then, I think, was Andre, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. It was Andre the Giant.
Yeah, but he was the heel and Andre was the face, which was interesting.
Yeah, well, Andre used to beat the crap out of him all the time. Hogan would beat everybody, and then Andre would shut him up for a while, and then he'd come back. It was like a vicious repeating cycle.
Yeah, it was. It was shocking news this morning. Eric,
really upsetting. Really.
Yeah.
Upsetting.
When I get to my turn, let's get Eric first here.
Well, thanks for having me on, Chrome. And my experience with Hogan is a little different than Brad's. Mine started in the early '90s. I didn't get into wrestling until I was about 10 years old. And I kind of started backwards, where it was WrestleMania 7 and then SummerSlam 91. And then working my way into 92, and then he took that hiatus in 92, and had to work backwards. So back then you go to the video store and you go rent Coliseum Video, and you rent WrestleMania. I rented WrestleMania 5, watched WrestleMania 6, and those, and then WrestleMania 3, and watching those, and just wanting more, because you could just feel it when you're watching him. It was just like he was just full of charisma, and you just wanted to see more of them. So for me, it was kind of I had a different path to Hogan, but really then continuing on when he came back, and then and beyond. So but just like, wow, like 10-year-old me, part of me, just like that childhood portion of me, took a hit today. It was like you alluded to the rumors, from Bubba, and you didn't want to believe it, but you never heard from him, and you didn't, he didn't come out and say, "Oh, I'm fine," or somebody say he's fine. So unfortunately, it was it ended today. But yeah, it's pretty saddening, to say the least, for the wrestling community.
Yeah, I mean, it's so telling when certain things happen, right? I mean, I think you saw a lot with Ozzy Osbourne. You saw that the other day too, and obviously Theo. Hard time for the '90s kids right now, or '80s kids, like in between there, because they all kind of fall in between that. But like, I cannot tell you guys, I got text messages. My cousin called me to ask if I was okay. Like, I got into the Hulkster. So my cousin Ryan, my oldest cousin, he had the rubber figures. If you guys remember the first WWE figures, or WWF figures that came out, there were the rubber ones. And he had a bunch of them. It was like Hogan, Andre, Sheik, who I know we're going to talk about him shortly, Brad. It was like 4 or 5 of them, and he gave me the ring. And, I mean, instantly it was Hogan and Andre was it, right? And then I think, if I remember correctly, the first WrestleMania that I really watched, like I made my parents rent it when it came out right away, was WrestleMania 5. Mega Powers Explode. And I just instantly became hooked. And I know there's a lot of controversy in his personal life, in the personal life of Terry Bollea, that we don't have to dive too far into. I encourage people to comment. I will tell you, I'm not going to put anything disrespectful up. I don't know if anybody would actually put anything there, but just to give you a heads up, but I do appreciate the engagement, and I will put up some of the comments shortly. But regardless of all of that, I look at the man, and then I take that away, whether I love him or not. And I just see the career of the character and what the character meant to me. And it did make me, like, I was proud to be an American because of the Real American Song and Hulk walking around, with the flag and going against Sergeant Slaughter. And, it just affected me so much. It developed a lifelong passion that I've had. I'm 40 years old, for 35 years. I've been a fan of professional wrestling to the point now where I'm doing what I'm doing with you guys today, and pursuing this, and having, incredible opportunities to interview people like a Devon Dudley or a Ken Shamrock, or, whoever, Ted DiBiase, whoever. Having those opportunities and having that drive and wanting to do it came, and it started with, what is Nick Sirianni here talk about, right? You sprinkle the seeds and you let the plant grow. Hulkster was the one that did it for me. And I'm a fan of Savage and other guys as well, but like, to me, the be all end all, and regardless of everything over the years, I have always remained a Hulk maniac. And I tend to go for heels now. I usually like the bad guys, but I can never not be a Hulk maniac. It's just something I feel in it. It hit me pretty hard today. So I think another telling thing, I don't know about you guys in your social medias, so many people who aren't wrestling fans put stuff up on it about it today. And I think that's very telling about the reach that he had that started there and then Rock and Wrestling Connection and went beyond that to pop. He's a pop culture icon. So I want to transition that into our opening topic, again, brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. And I'm going to let Brad kick it off because Brad almost kicked it off before we went on the air with it. Hulk Hogan is the biggest star in professional wrestling history. Do you agree or disagree? Again, please like, subscribe, follow. I want your comments. I want you to engage. We're going to start putting comments up shortly. We want to know if it's not him, who it is. And if it is, show the love. Go ahead, Brad.
Okay, so I had three guys, okay, that to choose from. Either Hulk, Bruno, or The Rock.
Okay.
Okay, I think those are the three, right? I mean, to me, those were the three guys. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I would say Hulk because Bruno did not bring new eyes to the TV set. Okay, I mean, I'm from the generation where I was close to New York City, so every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, Channel 9 went on the air, and we used to watch Saturday morning wrestling, and then at 12 o'clock at night, when my parents thought I was sleeping, I'd turn the TV on and watch from 12 to 1, the second part. And that's kind of how I grew up. Now, I think that Hogan was definitely he was the transcending person in wrestling. He brought more eyeballs and more money into wrestling. And I think any guy who's wrestling now should remember that Hulk Hogan is basically he was the golden goose. Bruno brought a lot of fans there too, and I'm not saying he didn't, but Hogan it was completely he got all the kids going. He was such a good influence on kids, and I don't care about the personal life. Okay, that's his business, and it's not my business. I just look at what he did in the ring and what a good influence he was on, taking your vitamins and and never giving up and all that sort of thing.
Say your prayers. Yep.
Yeah, forgot that. But he was just that, and as a long time wrestling fan, and I honestly I don't watch it that much anymore because there's just no compelling characters like there used to be. But back then, boy, he was something else. I mean, at work, when I started working back in the early '80s, I was always Rowdy Ryer. My friend Greg was always Greg the Hammer. Okay, our boss Mike was always Iron Mike. That's kind of how it was. And there was a few other guys. I don't want to go through all of them, but
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. We used to walk into work, and that's how we talked to each other like that, even when we were having serious discussion, yelling at each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, again, and what I love about this, by the way, is we're all a panel of people from different eras. I mean, me and Eric are like a similar era, but I got into it sooner than him.
Yes.
So I feel like I'm slightly, when I started watching, is slightly prior to the era where he got into it. But yeah, Eric. So I like your top three, by the way. If you were to do a Mount Rushmore, who would be your fourth? Brad.
Boy, I mean, I guess Roman Reigns.
Oh, okay. All right.
I got to put somebody new in there, right?
I don't hate it. I think it's debatable, but I don't hate it. I'm a Roman guy.
I could say Randy Savage or Piper or one of those guys too, but I just want to be fair to people after 1990. That's all.
True. Eric, what do you got for us, man?
So I do agree with the fact that Hulk is the biggest star in professional wrestling history. My Rushmore is similar, and it's that third and fourth are very interchangeable, right? So I would say my Rushmore is probably Hulk. I'd probably go Andre, and then Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels. But they're all interchangeable, Randy Savage, Rock, and I think Roman Reigns is probably the one guy, and you could put Cena in there too, as far as current. That, and I think Roman's still got more to go, hopefully. But as far as Hogan goes, going back to, he was just different than everybody else. Looking back at looking back at footage in the 80s, and I think Backlund was the champion in the 80s, and I think Vince's vision of just having that flamboyant and somebody that just looks different than everybody else, and I think he picked the right person in Hulk Hogan. And of course, when Hulkamania started, when he came back in late '83 and took the title real quick, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit too. But I think he was just the right guy in the right time. Cable TV started, about the rock and wrestling in the '80s. I think it's just he was the flag bearer for that revolution in the 80s, where things were changing. You were getting you had MTV, you had cable television coming, and then soon after that was the first WrestleMania. So I think Hogan was the right guy at the right time, and then he continued to carry that torch into the late 80s, into the 90s, and it wasn't without attempt to try to put somebody else in that position. And they tried Warrior, and that didn't work. And then they struggled. WWE, WWF, when he left, they struggled with a few different guys. And then he continued when he went to WCW and started started there, and then of course in '96 turning heel and forming the NWO, and putting WCW ahead of WWE in the ratings for those 83 weeks. So he's just for the longevity and for his impact, he has to be the greatest wrestler, superstar of all time. I wouldn't say greatest wrestler, I'd say greatest star. I heard Ric Flair today on Busted Open talking about he said Hogan was the greatest superstar ever. Said Flair may be the greatest wrestler, but he said the way that they gauge that is who made the most money and who made money for the other boys, and that guy was Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, it's just he's such. I think the answer is to agree to this, and I'm going to say why. I think it's very simple, and I knew coming up with this it might be a softball, but I felt like it was important that we all maybe even explain why. At the end of the day, none of this happens for anybody if Hulk Hogan is not in the spot that he's in, and that's just, you can book that, sign, seal it, deliver it. WWE might be on the Ocho if it's even still existing, if Hulk Hogan is not the guy. And I think that right there, and we're not talking about in-ring performer, best professional wrestler. We're just basically talking about, is he the biggest superstar? And I think he is. And I know you can argue guys like Austin. I know to me, The Rock was a massive wrestling superstar, but when he started to transcend, it became in Hollywood. And to me, Hulk Hogan, he is the reason why we all watch. I mean, even if for a second you put in some of the out of the ring, we'll say off the field, out of the ring stuff, right? I can't tell you how many people that I saw today posted that, despite personal ideologies, what the character meant to me as a kid should be celebrated. And I think that talks a lot about, I don't think everybody gets that. Brad, to your point with Bruno, I think Bruno had to be a stepping stone to get them to a certain level so Hulk Hogan could be, they strap the rocket ship to him and he's the one who basically gets it across the finish line. So I don't, it's not that I don't think that Sammartino doesn't belong in a conversation. And I know that we're all on the same page on this. But it is Hogan who did this, who got us there. And People like John Cena, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, even in AEW. AEW exists because of Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan went to another company and proved that you could leave the biggest company in the world and go to one that is floundering, struggling to pay their bills in a little set at Disney's MGM Studios, and made them a legitimate contender. And I think that just says everything about what his effect was on professional wrestling.
And Mike, you know what? The fact that when Hogan went to WCW, everybody else did. You know, Savage went, Diamond Dallas Page went. They all did. All the really good wrestlers went there, and then WWF. You know, nobody really paid attention to them all that much. Not compared to WCW. WCW was the king of wrestling for a while.
They were, and it's funny because like when you can look at it and you see like and partially though, to be fair, that was also kind of the downfall to WCW. That all the old timers were going there and WWE was getting all the younger talent. But you are right. Hogan, I think Savage went first, am I right? And then Hogan went after him.
It was close. I think Hogan came.
They were within a couple months.
What about Hall?
I think Savage was there through 94.
Okay.
Because he was at 10. He wrestled at WrestleMania 10. Hogan was already gone. So I think it was like shortly thereafter. Within a year he was there.
Right. Yeah, I think again, you look at what he did, and then like when it's fading out, he reinvents himself in such a way that like I know people liked Flair and stuff over the years, but like when you were a kid, they were babyface and there were heels, and you were always no matter who they were. It was Barry Horowitz. We were a babyface fan. We loved them. Barry, go get the Intercontinental title, buddy. Let's go. But like in hindsight, as an adult, I'd be like, I'm kind of on the Chris Candido zip side. You know what I mean? But Hogan changed that perception, not just like for the mass majority of the fan base. Not just like, you know, you had your smart marks back then too, who were smartened up to it and they looked at it differently. But really, Hogan changed the perception of everything. And it became cool to be bad.
You took my word.
Yeah,
they were cool, and you wanted to cheer for them because of how cool they were. They were dominating. They'd take over shows. They spray painting people. They just ran roughshod, and it was different then. And I think that's where they were must see TV. People were flipping the TNT to watch Nitro instead of the same old Monday Night Raw formula where, like you said, Barry Horowitz versus Skip of the Body Donnas, and some of the they, and like I said before, they really struggled when Hogan left. They tried the new generation. They tried not until you got to late 96, early 97 is where they were already getting beat in the ratings. They were well ahead. WCW was well ahead. Mm-hmm. And Hogan was the catalyst of that. And then, they added on a few other things, but that 83 weeks there, that was really, there was a reason why WCW was kicking WWF's butt. It was because of Hulk Hogan and the NWO.
Yeah, Brad, and look at the point here that Kevin makes, Brad, and get your reaction to it. Hogan paved the way in many aspects between helping to launch Mania, the flip to movies, the back and forth face and heel. He really did set the standard. And like, what's funny too, Brad, is like when you're a kid, like you just loved it. Like Sid Justice gets rid of him legally in a battle royal, and he gets mad, so he pulls him out, and we're like, Sid, you're the worst person ever, right? Like in hindsight, Hogan worked his whole career as a heel too, which is so funny in hindsight. But he just like it was just one of those things. You never saw it that way because of what the character.
The rules.
No, he raked your back. He even raked eyes.
Thumb to the eye.
Well, in the
Yeah.
championship match with the Sheik, okay, the Sheik didn't even get his clothes off, and Hogan was beating the hell out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
let's
saw
talk
that.
about that, Brad. So, Brad, so for our viewers out there, so I never knew this. Me and Brad have been doing this together for a long time. Brad was at Madison Square Garden January 23rd, 1984, when what they consider the birth of Hulkamania, when Hogan defeated Iron Sheik. Brad, can you tell us about what that was like, the environment? I know you've talked about the card and everything. Just tell us what it was like, Madison Square Garden, Hulk Hogan versus the Iron Sheik. It had to be electric.
Oh, it was crazy. First of all, we got when we got I got the tickets because I was at a Ranger game, and before I got there, before I walked into the arena, I had said to one of my buddies, should we go see the rematch between Bob Backlund and the Sheik? And like, yeah, why not? Why not? We're already there, so we got the tickets, and they weren't really that expensive back then. I can't remember what we paid for it, but it was probably under $10. And when we went, everybody couldn't wait to see the Iron Sheik get his brains beaten. We were like, we knew that we knew we didn't read a script or anything, but we just knew this was it. Okay, they were not going to let a guy playing an Iranian bad boy be the champion that long, because that would turn too many people off. So we knew eventually, somehow, we were just figuring out how the hell is he going to get. Everybody in the stands was figuring out how is he going to get out of the camel clutch.
Yeah,
and in the match, they kind of gave it away early because the Sheik slapped the Boston Crab on him, I think, at some point during that match. I can't remember exactly if it was right when after Hogan had his when he initially was annihilating him, and then it was the Sheik's turn to annihilate. I think I can't remember because it's a long time ago, but the Sheik got him in the Boston Crab, and Hogan did a push-up and knocked him right off. And when he got the when he slapped the camel clutch on him, he kind of just did his his thing where he shows off his chest, with his muscles, and she couldn't hold on, and that was it. But I mean, the fans went. Hogan was spitting on the Sheik while he was annihilating him, and everybody was screaming, "Spit on him again! Spit on him again! Spit on him again!" Everybody like took this so seriously. It would be like a Flyer Ranger game when both fans were at their worst behavior.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or either the Ranger fans or Flyer fans would be their worst behavior. And people were like, break his neck. It was crazy. It was like,
And
God.
It's fun to hear that too, because I think, Eric, you probably see it a lot of times when you watch those, like the old clips and the old videos of it, and they do the crowds are super into it. And some of them are like people who like don't look like they would even be wrestling fans, and they're like throwing fists, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a different. It's just a different vibe.
They're like, kill him, throw him out of the ring head first. It was like every mean, despicable thing that you could possibly do. When Hogan went on his rampage at the beginning of the match, people were screaming at.
That's amazing.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
So cool.
And
what people don't know though was when Hogan won, because I actually did watch it on TV when they had a rerun of it. They blocked a whole part of it out, which was really pathetic. After Hogan won, okay, and they went to commercial, the Sheik got up and he was pissed, and he hit Hogan from behind, and then Hogan just wailed on him for like 3 minutes. Seriously, the Sheik couldn't move. He was so beat up.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah. And no, they
awesome.
never showed that. And I've never seen any footage of that. But I mean, when you were there, you saw it, and it was like, whoa. I have a feeling that wasn't part of the script.
Maybe.
And Hogan got really pissed off because Hogan wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
I mean, he wouldn't stop. He was going to town on him, and it was unbelievable. That that whole card was incredible, but that match, oh my god.
Yeah,
That match.
Got it.
Oh, I'm sorry. The match is on YouTube today. They added that match on YouTube. It's probably on there before, but it came up today in my my top feed. So I'm gonna have to watch that again.
Yeah. There's a bunch I want to
to.
go back and watch actually from all different eras.
If you could find the footage after he won the match, when they on TV they went to commercial, if you could find that footage, it was unbelievable. I mean, Hogan really beat him up pretty bad. He gave him one of those nasty beatings that he gives guys, you know.
I wonder if they would have that on their vault, the YouTube page they put out there, where they kind of show a little bit more of unedited stuff. I have to check it out.
I think if we're gonna see it at any point, it would probably be now.
Yeah, if there's any way,
footage.
because if memory serves me correctly, he nailed him pretty bad.
Yeah,
you know, because the Sheik wanted more. He was like, you know, that was bullshit. You know the whole thing.
Shout out to Greg S here, tuning in from the UK. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, pal.
And it's I don't know if you've watched us before. You're running into us. Our normal nights are Tuesdays, so make sure you come back and check us out. Although I'm on vacation next week, so it'll be 2 weeks.
Listening late. That's awesome.
Love that.
There.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, it's a big deal, right? So, let's move into, I guess, what the next phase of Hulkamania is, where we have the Rock and Wrestling connection. Cyndi Lauper comes in, and really it's the WrestleMania phase, right? So Hulk's the guy. He's going to lead them. Vince has this, kind of worldwide vision for national vision of taking over the territories and making the company, national before then eventually going global. And Hulk's the guy. And I think that we hear a lot of things and they count WrestleMania main events, right? Like Roman Reigns, we hear every year about how many WrestleMania main events he's had now. But Hulk main evented the first 9 WrestleManias. Like, even the one he was not supposed to main event at WrestleMania 9. He showed up and took the title from Yokozuna. So I just want to dive into that because, people say that Shawn Michaels is Mr. WrestleMania. Shawn Michaels is my favorite in-ring performer of all time, and he is amazing at WrestleMania. But again, we don't get that from Shawn Michaels if Hulk Hogan is not the guy. So some of your memories that you guys have from his and what is your vision of him in terms of the WrestleMania lore and legacy of WrestleMania?
I guess my thing is, when
Roscoe, you watch your damn mouth when you talk about WrestleMania 9. It's one of my favorite WrestleManias of all time.
Yeah, you leave that alone.
You just don't have the vision to understand what makes it so brilliant. Me and Eric have literally talked about doing a reaction show to what, like to that, or recovering that.
It's happening. It's happening. Yeah. I think for me, he's just synonymous with that, just because at the very beginning, and then just cemented that at 3 with Andre, and I didn't watch it live, but seeing like the build up to it, and like they wanted to make sure that they kept that heel factory going. They had how many bad guys did they have come in? These huge guys: King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd, Andre,
Bam Bam.
Bam. Yeah, I mean, they had that heel factory where they would just bring in these guys, these big nasty heels, and he would beat them all. He'd get beat up, and then get Hulk up and get his comeback, and he was champion until 88, so early 88. So I mean, he had the title for 4 years until he dropped it. But then, like, even after that, getting the title back at WrestleMania 5, he continued to just be that, that draw. And I think that's where, it was a consistent draw for him versus some of these guys that you see, in the 90s and beyond, where they're not as consistent on the card. You kind of see them just like you maybe see them in a WrestleMania, and then maybe, you know, besides Roman Reigns, of course, and Cena, but he was just like that first guy that you just continue, like you thought of WWF, like you talk to anybody on the street, you know who Hulk Hogan is. And I think that's where the difference is between him and anybody else. But I think one hilarious thing that I remember seeing on a Hulk Hogan DVD was when he went into training with I think they did tag matches with Gene Okerlund.
Oh wait,
he's doing the workouts, and he wakes him up at 5 a.m. and Mean Gene wants pancakes, and he's like, "You drink some eggs, brother," and he pours some eggs in a glass, and he has him drink. He's like, and Gene's like, "I'm gonna lose my lunch here. I can't do this." And Hogan runs him around Minneapolis to the Twin Cities, brother, and they get him in shape. I forget who they were fighting, but those vignettes were just hilarious and like
amazing.
I remember Mean Gene's like stops at a rest stop. He's like, "I want a beer and a brat. How about it?" And Hogan grabs him by the back of the neck and like, "Hold on, brother. We gotta do this again." And it's just like, just that kind of stuff was just like this comedic. Like it was just hilarious. And like every time I watch it, I just crack up. But just like little things like that. And I know like the Tuesday Night Titans. I'm sure like I gotta dive deep a little further, but there's just been some good stuff. You know, there's good stuff out there that he did, not just in the ring, but he was just a charismatic guy. And I think a lot of that, you know, his in-ring stuff wasn't the greatest. Of course, like you said, Chrome, he wasn't
he was the originator of the 5 moves of doom.
Right. He had the big boot, he had the body slam, and he dropped the leg. He never went on the top rope. He didn't you know, he wasn't putting in unless he was in Japan. Unless he was in Japan, that's a whole other story.
He was a great wrestler.
He did the forearm.
Yeah,
the slaughter thing.
Yeah,
not the cannon, but you know, the clothesline.
Yeah,
he would do the multiple elbows, right? He would do like 1, 2, 3, and then he would think he's going to drop the last one. And he would stop, and he would break the face with his shoe.
Oh, that's right, with his boot.
Another heel tactic.
Yep.
Well, that's what made it so fun to watch him.
Yeah, his promo work was strong too. Like sometimes he'd go a little off kilter a little bit, but he wasn't Ultimate Warrior off kilter. But like some of the promos with, you know, going into Andre and Warrior, and you know, he his promo work was strong, and he always connected. And then even as you know, when he turned heel in WCW, like he flipped the script, and you wanted to hate him. And I remember the grandma trying to punch Hogan on Nitro. Yeah. I mean, like that kind of stuff, just like perfect TV. It was just like perfect. And I don't even know if that was set up or not. I don't remember if she probably was just there and just it was just right place at the right time. But it was just
WCW had such a weird eclectic group of people that showed up there that it wouldn't shock me if she was a plant, but it wouldn't shock me if she wasn't, because that was just kind of what you got there. And like, no, to your point too, right? Like you can go back on Peacock, and I love that they have loaded back up so many of those Coliseum video exclusives. So you can watch like the Hulkamania 6, like the you know, they had like 8 of them or something.
That's the WWF Volume 4, Volume 5.
World
Tour.
World Tour, those were great, and that's where you had Lord Alfred Hayes here. Like he had all this great stuff back in the day.
Do you remember when I don't know if you saw this, when Roddy Piper had Piper's Pit, and he had Jimmy Snuka. Did you ever see that interview?
The one where he cracked them with the coconut.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the banana, and smushed the banana in it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's like nuclear heat. Piper was he's a whole other conversation. He was next level with the way he can manipulate a crowd and get them to hate him or hate whoever he was with. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But he was funny. He was a funny guy.
Yeah, that's a feud that we haven't discussed yet. It was Piper, you know, the first WrestleMania.
I mean that set the standard, right?
Yeah. They fought at the Garden so many times in the 80s, and I don't think he ever beat Piper clean. I don't think every match was like a schmaz or like a DQ or count out, because I don't think Piper wanted
Did Piper
to
ever get pinned? I don't ever remember seeing him get pinned.
he didn't get pinned until later on, like in the 90s.
When he clearly was not athletic anymore in the ring.
Yeah.
I mean, they always talk about him. I mean, I've seen different biographies on him, and I've heard him say it himself. You know, like he wouldn't put Mr. T over, that was for sure. And it wasn't just Mr. T. He had a train of thought. And I remember I heard Hogan talk about it. You know, they did a documentary on WrestleMania 1 for A&E during that A&E series, the Superstar series.
Mm-hmm.
Really good one. And they talked about how Hogan had to like basically keep trying to convince Piper to go along and play along, because Piper hated T. And Piper, he didn't want to put anybody over to begin with, because he thought he was tougher than them in real life. And he wanted to make sure before he put somebody over that they appreciated it. And even then, he wouldn't let them pin him.
Nope.
They get a count out, they get a disqualification, do a dusty finish, but he wouldn't let anybody pin him. That was big.
You notice who took the pin in WrestleMania 1. It wasn't him.
Nope. No, it wasn't.
That's probably why Orndorff was in the match. Probably just to take the pin.
100%. 100%. And I mean, that rivalry was just so iconic. And like you brought up, Brad, that Piper's Pit segment, it's funny when you look back at it, because it set the standard for WrestleMania 1. And then it was also the birthplace of what I would consider, I'm not saying this is the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. I will say that this is the most important WrestleMania match of all time. And that's WrestleMania 3 against Andre. And I think, I could look at that card and I would tell you Savage and Steamboat's the best match on the card, probably the second best match, not just in WrestleMania history, maybe in professional wrestling history. My opinion, it's Undertaker and Shawn Michaels at 25. But I digress. When you go and you look at what a match meant, and not just Hogan, but Andre at WrestleMania 3, in front of that crowd, I could go back and watch it on television now, and I have. I'm actually planning to go back and watch some of that WrestleMania again, just to get the feels for it, especially now with the situation as it is.
That was at the Byrne Arena, wasn't it?
That was the Pontiac Silverdome.
When Hogan and Andre met?
Pontiac Silverdome,
yes.
93,000 plus.
Yeah, Pontiac, Michigan.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. And
they did wrestle at the Byrne Arena, but
I mean, I look at this match though, and I got to tell you guys, to me, this is where people looked, because Andre was a crossover star too at that time. People knew who Andre was. There were people who maybe didn't necessarily know who Hogan was yet. But these two titans clashing, it became must-see television. To me, WrestleMania 1 was important because of what it was and the people that are part of it. When WrestleMania became the show of shows was when Hogan and Andre faced each other.
Definitely. Yeah, I know the little bit of the backstory on that match, and reading and listening to stuff. Hogan didn't know that Andre was going to do the job for him until it actually happened, because at that point Andre was undefeated and hadn't been pinned, so he didn't know.
He had it.
Right. Yeah, so he kept asking Vince, like, is he going to do it? And he said, just go out there, everything will be fine. And it worked out. So, but it was one of those just like highlight moments where, it solidified Hogan as if it hadn't already, he was the guy. And the fact that Andre stamped approval of it made it that much more impactful.
Vince rewarded Andre though by letting him beat the crap out of Big John Studd though.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that he didn't like him very much.
Wasn't it a WrestleMania that he got Big John Studd's $10,000 in his suitcase and opens it up and started throwing the money everywhere?
The WrestleMania 2.
was WrestleMania. Oh, okay. So it's before then. Before that.
Mhm.
It was the Body Slam Challenge, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was Hogan versus King Kong Bunny in what is my favorite steel cage to this day, the big blues cage. I wish they would bring that back. I swear, bring it back for Saturday night's main event,
No-
please.
another big heel for Hogan to beat. That was that was the heel factory that Bobby Heenan, the Heenan family fought the Heenan family all through the 80s.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just look at all of that, and again, yeah, you're right. Bobby Heenan was like might have been his biggest rival. I mean, maybe Savage, but Bobby Heenan into WCW was the classic foil to everything Hogan. Even when he goes bad, now Bobby Heenan's good. You know what I mean? It was just something tremendous.
He never changed his stripes about Hogan. Never liked him. Didn't trust him.
I mean, people say he gave away the family, which I don't understand why people got so upset with that. I think that it added to the moment, and in hindsight, it's a great moment as well. Like I think if you suspected Hogan was going to turn, you kind of figured, oh, he's coming out, he's turning anyway.
Right.
But if you didn't, like I didn't, I'm like, oh my God, Hulk Hogan's coming out. I didn't pay a damn bit of attention to what Bobby Heenan had to say at 11 years old, asking me whose side is he on.
Right.
That's just for me.
Yeah. It didn't take away from the moment at all. It was Heenan playing the Heenan character like he did for the previous 10 to 15 years as a foil to Hogan. Like his stripes never changed about Hogan at all. Never liked him. Never and then they flipped when Hogan went heel. Heenan still didn't like him and didn't want he never changed, which is credit to both.
Yeah, when I think about what you talked about earlier, though, right? And we talk about WrestleMania and his legacy. Hogan main evented the first 9. They tried to basically push him out twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. WrestleMania 6, the torch was passed.
Yes, it was.
WrestleMania 8 was supposed to be a time where we're phasing him out.
Yep.
And every time you come back with WrestleMania 9, and who is it? We're gonna go with old reliable over here. And I know we have to mention it, Eric, because I know for me and you, it's one of our favorite things. And it gets a lot of flack, Brad.
I don't know if David's going to like this.
People, for some reason, don't love WrestleMania 9, and I will tell you why I love it. When I was a kid, to see a WrestleMania outdoors, amazing. And Caesar's Palace, their setup was amazing. B, especially now in hindsight, the commentary from the introduction when Bobby Heenan comes out backwards on a camel. It is just, it is the gift that keeps on giving between Jim Ross's first broadcast and trying to manage the personalities of Savage and Bobby Heenan. Your wild characters going at each other and
wearing a toga,
wearing togas. And then obviously it's the finish, right? This was Money in the Bank before Money in the Bank was a thing.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
You had a guy come out and, I know Bret Hart in classic Bret Hart fashion shits on it now, but he comes out and go get him, Hulk, go get him. And he takes the big Japanese sumo wrestler down and hits him with the big leg, brother, for the 1, 2, 3. We're bringing that title back to the US of A. I could have been happy. That was the greatest moment that ever happened in my life at 11 years. How old was I then? When was that? 94? 9 years old. 93. 8 years old. That was the greatest moment of my 8-year life.
Chrome, I was saying earlier, so I had one of those hot boxes at my house.
Lucky you.
So when I was allowed, when nobody else was watching TV, I was allowed to watch, the wrestling pay-per-views, and I got to watch WrestleMania 9. And I remember my next door neighbor, shout out to Doug. He was like, tell me what happens. So of course we think the main event was Bret Hart versus Yokozuna for the WWF title. And when it was over, I run over to his house. Like, first thing he asked is, "Who won, Bret Hart or Yokozuna?" And I was like, "Hulk Hogan, Hulk Hogan, Hulk Hogan won." He's like, "What? What are you talking about?" I just remember that like it was yesterday. But like, yeah, the element of surprise. I mean, they kept going back to him because they knew that formula. Vince knew the formula worked, and they struggled. Like we were talking about, like, and once he was gone, it took. I mean, he didn't come back for 9 years after that, and by then, the landscape was very different. We were just on the tail end of the Attitude Era, so like they struggled until '97 to replace him, and I don't think they ever fully replaced him because what he brought was just different then.
Yeah, he was just irreplaceable. He just, the charisma, the popularity with the fans. Even when he was a bad guy, when he was a heel, everybody still loved him.
Yeah,
and that was what was so cool about WCW. The fans all rooted for the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
It was when I started watching, I was like the only good guy that I can remember them really liking and rooting for all the time was DDP
and Sting.
Huh?
And
yeah,
Sting.
yeah. They liked Sting too. I forgot about him. Him. But yeah, DDP. They loved DDP. But all the other good guys, they were just like they had no use for them.
Yeah,
they liked all the guys that were cheaters. They liked.
Yep, like Jericho and
well, Bischoff was a great commissioner, and that was great. I mean, I think he wrote most of the scripts. So, and that mind of his was so evil. It was great.
Well, I mean, listen, the NWO was it was a game changer, right? I know we didn't dive super deep into it, but that literally changed the industry. And as great as Bischoff was in his creation of it, who was the guy you had to go to get it over? I know they tried to do Sting, according to many reports. But who was the first one they went to and he said, "I'm going to do this"? Hogan declined it.
Yep.
And then he thought about it and he's like, "You know what? I think my thing's getting a little bit old. I really should get involved." By the way, one of the best things, I'm going to miss this about Hogan, is his embellishment of stories is next level epic. Like he talks about lifting the 600-pound giant, rotten stinking giant dude, and I tore every muscle in my back. Where he talks about how he got spiked by Undertaker. Then you watch the clip and his head didn't even touch the mat.
Yeah,
like he was like this far from the mat. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna love it. Like the way he would tell a story. Oh my God! When I get my next credit for Audible, I'm gonna get his book. They have one of his books on there, just so I could hear him tell his stories in his voice because he does the narration.
Cool.
Again, it's just so funny and it's so iconic. And you mentioned that, and obviously we go through WCW. Look at Goldberg just retired. What was Goldberg's biggest moment? It was against Hogan. What was Warrior's biggest moment? It was against Hogan. What was Savage's biggest rivalry? It was against Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I mean, all of them. Sting. What was Sting's biggest moment? I mean, you could argue maybe Starrcade against Flair.
Sure.
But they didn't have the eyes then.
Nope.
But when that broke out.
Yep.
Yeah, way back in the day.
97.
Greg the Hammer Valentine. Who was his biggest? Who was other than Tito Santana? Who was his biggest arch enemy? Hulk Hogan, always.
Hogan.
Yep.
Whenever they needed back in the day, whenever they needed a feature match for Hogan, they'd always pull out Greg Valentine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not necessarily at the WrestleManias, but like at the Garden, every month.
Yeah.
They had their specials, and if they couldn't find somebody to wrestle Hulk Hogan, it'd be Greg Valentine.
Yep.
And Greg would get him in the figure four every once in a while, and Hogan would find a way to roll over to the corner and grab and get his leg in the rope so that they would let him go. And of course, Valentine would never let him go.
Yeah.
How about Orndorff? He turned babyface after WrestleMania 1 and kind of became friends with Hogan, and then I see sometimes like when they
Oh,
turned
yeah.
him back, they turned on Hogan about a year later, and like Orndorff was trying to call him, and he missed his phone call. He's like, I had 300 up, brother. He's like, relax, man. And then the next week he turned on Orndorff turned on Hogan. So yeah, but that was Orndorff's biggest rival. Like that just shows you there that, you know, Hogan was just like I said, that heel factory. He made the heels just as much as anybody.
I mean, look, Saturday night's main event against Andre, right? The lookalike referee.
Yeah.
And the title is awarded to Ted DiBiase, and the feud that again, amazing.
That was when he sold. That's when he bought it from him, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. I remember that one.
Yep.
Which is amazing that Andre, and it should be, he is considered a champion because of that.
Yeah. Really quick, going back to WCW and that whole thing, like that 83 weeks, you know, with Hogan, I don't think you would have gotten the Attitude Era without all that.
No, you wouldn't have.
You know, talk about the Attitude Era as being, you know, that was my teen years, and I absolutely, you know, there was a lot of not great things in the Attitude Era, but there's some really, really great things as well, and great characters like Steve Austin and The Rock. But I don't think you get that volume turned up without Hulk Hogan and the NWO breathing down their necks and kicking their butts for 83 weeks, and like, hey, we got to wake up, we got to change our formula, and we got to do something different here, or else we're going to be out of business.
The NWO gets you, in my opinion, and I said this, the NWO was the one that started it, because they stoked the flame that ignited the Attitude Era and ECW as well, right?
Yeah.
I think ECW steps it up a level, because I think WCW showed that there can be an alternative to step up, and I do think that inspired ECW to get to even another level. So to me, that was the catalyst. Couple more things I want to get to. I know we don't have a whole ton of time. I mean, we could literally talk for 5 hours.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But we mentioned in WCW. I want to go back real quick. I don't think it was a little bit of an inauspicious exit from there. I think the welcome got worn out. He comes back to WWE in 2002. What a moment that was. And I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over, but my mind is going a million places. Last thing I do want to mention about WCW, you want to think about how big that was. Do you guys remember when he signed that contract at Disney? How unbelievable! I mean, it was like a ticker tape parade. You never saw anything like that in pro wrestling before, and it was legitimate. It was fans there, wanted to see the Hulkster. Like, I knew WCW then, but I didn't really know WCW then. And that day is when WCW stayed on my radar.
I was so mad.
Oh yeah, I know you were pissed.
Like the other team.
I wanted to see him wrestle Flair, so I was kind of like glad.
Yeah.
They could have did it at WrestleMania 8. I don't know what the hell happened.
That's a whole nother story, and it's
I was just like I didn't care how it would happen, so I figured as soon as he's there, good. Now we're finally going to see Hogan and Flair.
Yeah. It's a good point.
You know, that would, I mean, that's a selfish, stupid way to think, but
I don't think it is at all. I think it's a great way
not
to
at all.
think. Because it needed
That's the
to
match
happen
that everybody wanted to see.
Yeah, okay. At least it wasn't just me then.
No, I mean that him and Sting were probably the two, like, at that time, and then he went, and then they started, like we were talking about earlier. His guys followed him. You saw Earthquake, you saw Tenta come in, you saw Kamala come in, and then they had the Giant.
How about the Great Khali? Remember him?
He feuded with the Giant. He started with that, guys. But the one match, of course, was Flair, and I think and they didn't waste any time. They did it at Bash at the Beach. They did it at Halloween Havoc. And then they continued to do it.
They couldn't wait.
They couldn't wait. I mean, that was the marquee, and they did the biggest pay-per-view at the time that they at that time that they had ever done by far.
This question right here, if you know me, if you watched my show before, me and Metal Mike, I know I've seen your name a few times. If you haven't, you'll watch it more. I would squash Bret Hart every time. I think Bret Hart sucks. As a person, too. So, Bret Hart would get squashed. He invented everything. He's the greatest at everything. He hates everybody. He's a miserable human being. And because of that, I would make him as miserable as he seems to love his life being. So there's your answer.
Tell us how you really feel, Chrome.
I hate Bret Hart. I hate Bret Hart and I hate Tito Santana. And I've interviewed Tito. I told Tito he's my biggest rival. It is documented on the air. I told Tito that I challenged him to a WrestleMania match.
Arriba.
I did. And that's a whole other conversation too. But we're gonna wrap up in a couple more minutes. I want to touch on two things here. The icon versus icon match against Rock. One of the greatest double turns of all time. We talk about Austin and Bret Hart. I think that was really monumental. We're not going to get into anything TNA. I think that just kind of what it was. He was cool with the Aces and Eights stuff, which we just talked about with Devon Dudley. So if you haven't checked it out, go back and check out our episode from Tuesday night. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on obviously that and any kind of – then I want to wrap it up with what is his legacy to us. But let's go with that because I think that this to me is Andre's his most important match. I think this is his best match. I think it's the best match Hogan ever had against Rock. So whoever wants to jump in. Give me your thoughts on that return where he does the turn, the double turn. And then he gets a title run in this run too.
So, yeah, and I've read stuff too where he didn't know how he was going to get received, and that Skydome crowd just went like bananas. And I think credit to Rock and Hogan seeing that and changing on the fly, as far as, Rock coming in as the baby face and Hogan as the heel. And they tried to do everything to turn him heel. He ran him over with a truck. He hit him with a hammer. They spray painted him. Like, he did everything to try to get heat. And Skydome, he gets a massive pop. And they booed everything Rock did, and they cheered everything Hogan did. He whipped them with the belt, with the belt, the weight belt, and they're eating it up. And then that match, they him hulking up is just like, I don't think I've seen a crowd ever just like pop like they did when he started hulking up.
Even before then, Eric, early in the match, where they're kind of doing the lockups, right? And
they're
throwing each other.
When
Hogan throws him, and he flexes on him.
Yeah.
And the flash bulbs behind him. And the crowd going insane at that moment is, to me, it's just iconic. When I think of that match, you're right. There's hulking up, this and that. That is the visual I have. My first visual. It's the stare down in the beginning, and then it's that moment, because when Hogan did that, I knew for a fact Rock was done in that match. He was not getting any crowd support.
Nope. And they talked about, but yeah, I was listening to Busted Open today. They had Mark Henry on. And they were talking about watching that match, and he said that the one guy that Hogan made a star that night was Rock. Now, Rock was already established, but he didn't have, even though he got booed, he was able to, he was solidified that night as a huge star because, and Hogan, passing the torch over to him. But I mean, you could just tell that WWF fans are just super loyal to the brand because he had been gone for 9 years, like he never left. He got cheered like he had never left. And
you remember when he came back that night on Raw? It was like a 13-minute
in
standing
Toronto
ovation.
Or in Montreal or Toronto, one of those. Yeah,
literally 13-minute standing ovation.
Just amazing. Like, and that run, I think, is a little underrated because it was so short. The match with Lesnar on Smackdown.
You got Brock matches. You got Undertaker, the American Badass match.
Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle, Triple H, where he won the title one more time, and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 2005. I know it was a couple years later. We had that brief little run where they were tag team partners, and then had the main event. I just think, I mean, listen, he transcended so much. You know, the TNA run matches weren't great. I'm not going to lie. But I do think he went there and made an impact at a time where their roster was wild. It was wildly deep. And then obviously, you know, Hogan he's had his beach shop. He's very talkative and he's very active. He's got the Real American beer, which I'm supposed to be trying this weekend finally. So it's ironic because my dad went to buy it for me today and then he died.
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
damn. I was like, damn, go buy it before everybody goes to their liquor store and goes to get, because my dad's in Florida and we're going to Florida this weekend. So I was like, go get it so I can drink it. But
one thing I want to bring up real quick too, I'm sorry, that we didn't mention is how he was the first guy to be in movies and stuff. Well, I mean, but he was like a movie star. Like he had, you know, No Holds Barred, Suburban Commando. You know, they weren't great movies, but you remember them as wrestling fans.
What about Rocky?
Yeah. Oh,
Rocky.
Thunderlips. Yeah.
Thunderlips.
The first one.
Yeah.
I have two Rocky shirts with Thunderlips on them, by the way.
Yeah. And that whole story where Vince Sr. didn't want him to do it and he got fired because he went and did Rocky 2.
Yeah.
But then like
he pissed off everybody when he did that.
Yeah, because at that time, that was a no-go. Like, no, you're not doing that stuff. Like, you're a wrestler. You know, you don't do that stuff. And
but as much as you say about Hulkster, like that's kind of where he was a visionary. And that he saw, like, you're telling me you want to be this like national brand and then global brand. Well, like, I'm your biggest star. But if you get me in front of more faces, mingling with other stars, like. And I think he was kind of right. How like contradictory is it that, well, we're okay with Cyndi Lauper and Liberace and everybody coming over to our thing, but you don't belong going over to theirs. What?
Yeah.
But he did. He set the trend, and now look at what's happening for Cena. Dave Bautista, I will tell you what, is actually a really good actor. Guy might win an Oscar one day. He's that good.
Yeah.
And obviously you have Rock, and I know he's kind of, you know, typecasted and everything, but everything he does I love. I think he's funny and I enjoy it, or he's a good action hero. Outside of Black Adam, which stuff, but but I digress. We're gonna wrap up here with your last thoughts. If you can be anything, if you want to talk about what you think his final legacy is, if you want to talk about your favorite moment, I'm gonna give everybody a chance here to pop in something last second, whatever yours is.
Mine was the match at the Garden, because it transcended everything, because just there was so much hostility, you know, from our country towards Iran, you know, and just how viciously angry the fans were about the Iron Sheik being champion, and how they, you know, because, you know, that whole thing with Iran #1 and spitting, and everybody he beat, he'd spit on them and then spit on the flag and all that other stuff, you know, and how he set off. He was the champion. The Iron Sheik, that is, was the champion of gaslighting people. Boy, I'll tell you.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him. I mean, not so much Volkov, because you knew he was just a moron, but the Iron Sheik was really good at it. And the fact that he had everybody that angry, and they were that passionate about Hulk Hogan, you know, you might want to give him a little credit too.
You look heel up in the dictionary, you're probably finding Iron Sheik.
Mm-hmm.
And he absolutely loved it and lived it.
Sheik, baby.
You know what? He was hilarious. And I heard that outside the ring, he was as nice a guy as you'd ever want to be.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah. I never took a picture with him or anything. I did meet him twice, just at conventions. And
was he a nice guy?
Very, very friendly.
He would play the heel, and then when you got with him, hey Bubba, come here, Bubba.
Come in for the picture, Bubba.
Yeah, but he was he was nice the time I met him too. For me, you know, it's kind of just like looking, and it's still tough to process because it's so fresh still. I just hope that people are able to appreciate what he did versus, looking at the stuff, because a lot of the stuff that's, controversial is just so super recent, over the last like 7 years or so. And I'm not going to get into that, of course, but I hope people
got hit in the head as many times as him.
Okay. And that's a good point. I mean, they got, and then also like all the surgeries under the nut, like how many times he's been under anesthesia with all the surgeries and hip replacements and knee replacements and stuff. I mean, not to excuse that any of that stuff, but it's just, I hope people appreciate it. And I know that his legacy, in the wrestling world will, people are going to be watching it for years, decades, long after we're gone. I think his just who he was in the ring and just that character, it's something to be appreciate, and I want to personally thank him for all the memories and hopefully, he's having WrestleMania 3 with Andre tonight, and Piper's there, and Orndorff, and all those guys. Mean Gene,
Monsoon,
Mean Gene,
Morella.
and Monsoon, and Heenan are doing commentary.
Joey Morella's up there.
Yeah, they're having a good part. I saw a picture
Adrian
today.
Adonis.
Yeah, and then half the end. It's crazy how 2/3 of the original NWO are no longer with us. It's just like, it just goes to show, like, it's just it's pretty crazy, and he's the big domino to fall, but there's so many other legends that are out there. Look at Flair.
Who had it that Flair and Jake Roberts?
Yeah,
I mean, that's wild to me.
Yeah,
and again,
more power to them. Glad they're still around.
I don't want it to be worth. I don't. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to lose anybody.
Yeah, I mean, they both somehow survived, and
right.
Yeah, my thing is, I'm going to leave it with two parting thoughts. I echo everything that Eric said. I think that I am so grateful for everything I have been given over the years that I can't, like, it literally set a standard for myself. You know what I mean? It did. It became a lifestyle for me in a way. And I'm exceedingly grateful for that. Somebody getting murdered over there, Eric? What is going on?
I think the kids have had enough after Daddy's been on the pod for an hour and 12 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna be jumping off.
I just heard that too. I'm like, is that me? I'm like, oh.
And then, so my other thing is, like, I think about when I met Hulkster twice. 2013, my first WrestleMania when we went, Eric, at WrestleCon, and I can remember that moment of just the anxiety of, I'm about to meet my hero as a kid. I've met a lot of celebrities. I'm very fortunate in that matter of fact. And I never feel awkward. I never feel incredibly nervous. But there was something about him, just because it felt like this could change my whole perception on what my life was like as a kid. You know what I mean? Like my childhood. And the moment I got up to him, I felt my stomach starting to sink, because I was like, oh my God. And he put the hand out, gave me a shake. What's going on, brother? Nice to meet you. Hulk, you're my hero. And he's like, oh, well, I mean, like, he took his time. He didn't rush anything. And he gave me a huge hug at the end. And it was an incredible experience. Fast forward, I said my picture was good, but it was slightly a little bit blurry. And I thought, you know what, I would love to get another one with him. He was at Fanatics Fest last year. So my girlfriend is kind of just slowly starting to get into pro wrestling a little bit, enough to tolerate it. Let's put it that way. She's not into it. She enjoys it enough to tolerate. She has people she likes. She's a Joe Hendry fan. She likes Roman. She likes Rock. She likes Cody. That's enough. So she likes Jey Uso and Yeating. So we end up going to Fanatics Fest, and we had to wait. I'm talking They messed up our session, so we had to wait hours to go to the next session, but we had to wait in the 2 hours. It was awful. But I will tell you, in the brief interaction that we had with him, we were walking up and he says, oh, like very excitedly, look at these two Hulkamaniacs here. My girlfriend Christina goes up to him. He puts his arm around her and he's like, how are you doing today, pretty girl? I'm telling you, she was like not feeling it by the time we got in there. We walked out and she had a skip in her step. She was said, babe, did you hear it? Babe, did you hear what he said? The Hulkster called me a pretty girl. Hulkster thinks I'm pretty. I was like, well, he's like 70 years old, but it's still a pretty cool moment for you. Pretty great. But again, what that did was that was my first convention taking her to. Getting the chance to meet somebody and have that experience, it made her a fan. And it also opened her eyes to like the rest of it and to see how a character and a person can be totally different. So I take that away, and my 2 experiences with this man were iconic for me in 2 very special ways for my childhood and for my future. When I look at how I felt then and then the woman who I plan to be my future. So anyway, there is not, and there will never be another Hulk Hogan. And we should all, as Eric said, be grateful for what we've gotten and for the impact that he had, because none of us are here. We're not talking about this. Nobody's watching us right now. Nobody's coming in and telling you without the Hulkster. So we send our condolences here at A2D Radio and everybody here on the Lazy Booking Podcast to the Hulkster and to his family. And, like Eric said, I hope they are reliving. I hope they're reliving 3, 5, and 6 up there right now, brother. I hope they're having a whole WrestleMania card build up there. And they got their biggest main eventer now.
Yep.
So
Andre will have the beers, of course.
That's it. Andre will be sitting ringside. Andre will be sitting there ringside handing out the post-match beers. You're 100% right.
Yep.
But I want to thank Brad. I want to thank Eric.
Nobody can drink like him.
No.
I
want to thank Brad. I want to thank Eric for jumping on with me today. And I want to thank everybody who jumped in our chat, who gave us a like, gave us a subscription, gave us a follow, shared it out. If you haven't yet, please do. Share it with somebody. You know a Hulkamania out there? A Hulkamaniac? Do us a favor. Let him jump in here. Let him get in. Let's hear some of these conversations. They can still share their thoughts about Hulk Hogan. So appreciate everything everybody did. A lot of new faces I see here. We have people from the UK. It was amazing. Oh, there's my girlfriend there. Stop calling me out. Sorry, babe. I had to let everybody know. But yeah, thank you to our sponsor, Specialized Physical Therapy. Thank you to everybody who joined us. And again, I want to thank you guys specifically. Last minute roll call. You guys stepped up to the plate for me today so we can get this show out and talk about it with the people. So for myself, for Brad, for Eric, and everybody here at A2D Radio, thank you guys for joining us today. And as a day like today shows, somebody out there that you love, we'll get this last comment in here before we jump out. Anybody out there that you love, give them a hug. Make sure you let them know how you feel. You don't know about if tomorrow's promised. And even if it is, it feels great to hear that anyway. So